Hi there, this is Doris Spencer of Library Arts, and I'm here to work with you today on creating a rather interesting historical tribute to the sailor's Valentine. I'll give you a little historical overview, I'll go over the materials, and we'll get right to work using shells, crystals, glitter, gems, and we'll use those to put together a beautiful sailor-themed Valentine of our own. I'll see you in a minute. So let's take a look at the traditional sailor's Valentines. So these were made out of shells, and sailors would come to shore for break or respite while they were on duty out in the seas, and they would primarily get these in Barbados, where they had craftspeople who would work, gather the shells, make these really rather elaborate designs, sometimes with a heart in the center like this, sometimes with words, think of me, sometimes a photo or an image, like here, this one has a ship was added, but really quite lovely and actually quite symmetrical. So if you look, if I split this down the center, most of the time your designs are going to be evenly balanced in a symmetrical type of way. You don't have to do that on yours, but it's something to think about. So that's just a little bit of a background history before we actually get into the craft. So let's go ahead and get started on the one we're going to make today. I'll see you in a minute. To get started today, we're going to get out our bag of supplies. You'll have some kind of a stand. Some of you may have gotten a mat board stand with a easel backing on it. Others of you have maybe got this picture frame stand so that when you're done, you're going to be able to stand your work up. But we're going to keep it flat while we work on it today. You're going to need some glue and a glue stick. You're going to have a bag of interesting materials. You have some shells, some gems, some actual starfish, some tiny shells on the bottom, some gravelly crystals, and just a lot of neat stuff to work with. You're going to have some black paint. You're going to have some additional shells that are from our local beaches. I got a few here for mine. And you're going to have some glitter, which is going to really bring your Valentine, sailor's Valentine, all together beautifully as after we do the mosaic. So now that we've gone over the supplies, you're also going to have a paintbrush, and you're going to need a cup of water nearby to clean that paintbrush or just wet it down, so keep that nearby. Other than that, I think we're all set to get started. So in the next video, I'll walk you through the first step for your project. See you soon. Welcome back. I'm just going to put my materials aside for a minute because it is a sailor's Valentine. The key thing is to have a Valentine themed shape on your board. Now, this has a stand, as I said, in the back, so you want to make sure that's on the bottom when you flip it to the top like this. An easy way to get a heart for a Valentine is to take like a half sheet of copy paper and to just practice, and I'm just doing this very lightly, sketching out a heart. By the way, sometimes I get like, a chocolate box in a heart shape. I save those boxes. They're great templates. So if you ever get a heart-shaped box of chocolate, now I'm just cutting this out. It's a great way to have a heart template you can use for a million different things. So because I cut it with the fold intact, now I can see, oh wow, that would be the perfect size for my board. So I'm going to use that as like a little mini template, and I'm just going to center it, hold it, and I'm just going to take a pencil, you could also use a marker if you wish, to trace a heart shape onto my board, just like that. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is really investigate what you have here in terms of shapes. Like what do you want to use? Like this is a really cool shape. I really like this big one. I'm thinking I might even want to use it down here. Open up that little container. You might want to sort some things out, like how these really beautiful sea stars. and I'm thinking about where I might want to put them. You might have 3, you might have 4. I just kind of grabbed a bunch and put in there. You have some gems, some really pretty gems in different colors to bring a little brightness to your work, so you can pull those out. You also have this really, I mean, you can just pour this all out on your paper towel. And by the way, that's a good idea too, is to keep paper towels nearby, because it's messy. It gets a little messy. So I have my little shells. You can sort them out, figure out what you want. So why don't you go ahead and do that. Take a few minutes to sort out your materials. So maybe you have a little pile of mini shells here. You have your starfish, you have your gems over here, and your blue, your aqua gravel. And then we can start talking about arrangements or designs for your project. Okay? Go ahead and do that, and I'll see you back here in a few minutes. Okay, did you have a chance to sort out your materials? I decided to keep this little cup for the tiny shells, my sea stars, my gems, and my blue gravel is down here. Now, I also have these other shells. So the first thing I want to do, if you want to play around with a design, you might want to keep that paper heart, and that way you could just transfer from the paper onto the board. But I'm just going to work with my glue, and I'm just going to take that glue, because I'm just going to work quickly here with my glue. And I'm actually going to pour a generous amount of glue out onto my board. The reason being is that I need to have a good thick coating, not only for the mosaics, meaning the shells, the gravel, the gems, and the glitter. So I really want a nice thick layer. I always sort of tell people, think about like you're frosting a cake here. So I'm gonna go right up to the very edge of the heart. I really want an even coating so that every edge of my heart gets a coating of glue, and so that when the glitter goes on later, there's not going to be any spots where the glitter can't stick, because I made sure I went all the way to the pencil line. Now, if you got a little slop like I just did, just wipe it off. I'm going to turn this slightly just so I can get this other little edge. And I know it looks like, whoa, that's a lot of glue, but I'm telling you, in the end, it really makes sense. Now, we're not using grout, so it's not a traditional kind of mosaic. We're just using glue and glitter, which is so much easier. Okay, I'm gonna put my glue aside for now. Gonna turn this around. Now, I've already decided that I'd like to use these shells to make a border on my design. So I'm going to go ahead and start like that, going around the outer edge of my heart. Now, you might want to do something different. Maybe you want to use the blue crystals. I've decided I really want to have this, and I want to put them toe to tail, top to tail. So the pointy top is going to next to the tail. So I'm going to go around my heart shape filled with glue here, and I'm going to finish up with these shells. And when you come back, that's going to be finished, and I'm going to then move on to the next step, which is filling the glue with your design. So go ahead if you want to create, I think a border is a good idea for this. So whatever border, blue crystals, shells, maybe you want to mix a couple gems in the border, you decide, and I'll see you back here in a few minutes. Have fun. Okay, as you can see, my border is done, and now I have to think about, what I want. Do I want that big shell down here? I think it's kind of cool, but what I think I'd like to do first is actually take some of that beautiful blue crystals, and I think I'm going to do a border within a border of blue crystals. And I'm not going to worry too much about getting precision here. I'm just putting them on to make a very pretty, I think pretty, blue border using a lot of these fancy crystals. So if you're just patient and put your crystals on evenly. You should not have trouble. You can always use your craft stick to pick up any that don't go exactly where you wanted them to go. So I'm going to do that. I really like the way the blue looks against the shell border on the outside. And I have just enough of this gravel to get in there and fill the border and make it look pretty even. I mean, you could go in there and say, well, I need an extra one here, or maybe an extra one there. I'm actually gonna flip it over so I can just see what's left. I like it. I like that a lot. Now, it's a mess on my paper towel, but that's okay. I'm just gonna brush that out of the way. And now, again, I can think, would I like, this shell will take up a lot of space on my design, and I have to think, you know, do I want more gems? I really like the shell, so I am going to put the shell, and I just feel like it's going to fit. And believe me, this is not a pre-made design. This is a design I am making up as I go. Now I can look again and say, well, maybe I'd like a few of these pretty gems. I have a really beautiful black here, and I could border that with another black here, just because I like it. I'm gonna put it there, and I'll use my fingers. Don't worry about a little glue getting on there. That's gonna happen probably no matter what you do. I think I'm gonna put a bigger one here, and I think I have another medium to large black. If I look through all my shapes here. Well, this one's a little smaller, but I'm not gonna worry about it being totally symmetrical. And I do have this big one. Maybe I would do something like that. That would be kind of cool to have this black one on the shell itself. So I'm going to do it because I feel like it. And you can do what you feel like. Let's see what else I have. I have a lot of gems. I want to see if I want to use any of these. Shells will take up a bit of space, but I think I'm going to put one here, move that over, put, well, that's kind of big, isn't it? I think I'm going to change my mind on those. I'm going to leave the big one. Oh, the starfish. That would be nice. I'm going to put a starfish here. I'm going to put a starfish, one of the smaller ones, over here. Oh, love that. I'm going to put, I wonder if I should put a starfish on here too. Yeah, I think I'm going to put a little starfish. Oh, whoopsie, not cooperating. Right there. And yeah, I'm kind of liking the way that looks. Now I'm going to think about if I want some additional gems. I want to find a couple that match. Here's a couple that match. This one's pretty as a diamond. This one's great as a diamond. So again, there's a lot of symmetry in Sailor Valentine. So I'm trying to do a little bit of symmetry on there. Now, another thing you can do, or I could do, is at the end, I could put, say, a starfish in each corner or something similar. I'm going to leave it like this because I like it. I'm going to give you a few minutes now to fill your heart up the way you want to. And then when I get back, we'll talk about the glitter and the paint, okay? And I may take that off because I'm thinking I might want to keep that sort of, I could have 4 starfish in the corners. So I think I'm going to take this off after all. And I'm going to clean that glue off, and then I'll have room to do 4 little starfish after I paint. So go ahead and play with yours, and I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, so as I said, I took that one shell off because I just didn't like it. I didn't think that it really, you know, did what I wanted it. And also just know that you can make little changes like that. And I'm just using a baby wipe to get any excess glue off that little spot. Easy peasy to do that. Now, the next thing we want to do is really bring the drama on. So I've cleared my space because you are going to be working with glitter, and I find that if I get all the little gems and shells and things like that off first, it makes it easy to capture the excess glitter that you're gonna have. So watch what we do. Nice, beautiful gold glitter. We're gonna give it a sprinkle all around. Now, I'm not interested in getting glitter on that big shell, so I'm just gonna work my way around it. And now remember, the glitter is only gonna hold where you have glue. So I'm putting a lot on, but I'm gonna have a lot left over. And this is where you can really save this extra fine gold glitter for a future project, because this is an amazing glitter to use. Now, carefully, again, with something underneath like a paper towel or a foil sheet, pick it up, tap it off, and what I'm doing is I'm turning it each way. Oops, I don't want to have that guy slide. Whoopsie. And look for any areas you may have missed, or maybe you need to go back and put a little extra glitter in, like I'm doing around my shell, just the edges where my shell shifted a little bit. But that is basically my design, and I actually love it. I love it. I think it's beautiful. It's got that beautiful gold. Everything's not going to be settled until tomorrow when everything is super dry, but right now, I love it. And if you happen to have a dry brush nearby, you can actually sort of just dry brush off the excess glitter where you don't want it, like on the edges of the board here. And now look at all that glitter I have left over. Now that glitter is not going to go into the garbage. I am totally going to reuse it. So I take my paper towel, gather my paper towel like a funnel, and I'm going to just tap all that extra glitter and get most of it, not all of it maybe, but most of it right back into my container. And I'm just tapping the paper towel lightly to encourage that. Look, I really lose only a tiny bit of glitter. All that glitter is saved. I'm going to make sure I cap it and save it for another project. Now, other than that, I'm ready for paint. So go ahead and do your glitter. I've saved my starfish and a few gems just in case I need them on the side, and I'll be adding those next. So go ahead and do your glitter, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, getting near the end here, what I'm going to do is get my paintbrush, and I'm gonna dry it a little bit on a paper towel just to get the excess water out of it, and I'm gonna put a nice layer of black. And notice I'm putting the paint down first before I add any of those sea stars. The reason being is you really want to get that paint, I meant to say, get that paint all over your board and put the shells on top. So I love black because black makes everything pop. So that's just my favorite. But a cool thing that you might want to do, instead of, say, putting that little black gem in the center of the heart, I could put a photograph. And that's sort of like a sailor's Valentine tradition, is to actually put a photograph, an image, a drawing of your loved one, the person that this is meant for, and it becomes a lovely, like, Valentine surprise after the sailors would get back to shore and be reunited with their wives, their children, their families, whatever it is that they would be going to see and stay with and rejoin. So you might want 2 coats of black, put 1 coat on, let it dry, and then just see if you need a second coat. I think I'm going to let mine dry, and I'm going to come back and show you how to add the beautiful sea stars with just a touch of glue that you have left over. And then we'll see if I want to add anything else. So go ahead and paint around your beautiful Sailor Valentine design, and I'll see you in a little while after the paint is dry. Welcome back. How did your Sailor's Valentine turn out? I love the way the little sea stars look on the bottom of this. I love the gold with the blue crystals. Here's another one I made some time ago. Has a few more shells, but a very similar theme. So however your Sailor's Valentine turned out, I hope you had fun making it. And I hope that I'll see you again in one of my future programs. So in the meantime, stay well, stay safe, and stay creative.